Amazing. All right, we've got a private chef here in the works. I love it.
I like this kind of almost like gang mentality, like us versus the world.
Dude, are you fucking kidding me? This is actually so good.
My t-shirt would read, stand on the right, walk on the left.
I feel like that's so telling. I feel like there's a little bit of rebellion.
I don't know, maybe keep on moving or something. Because I moved around a lot as a kid.
Isn't that what meditating is all about? You're trying to meditate and go somewhere else.
It kind of ties into this theme of like wanting to go back to the past, maybe even wanting to go back and change things.
Welcome to Unshut, a place where if at any point you feel like you need to shut the up, don't. Hey
Hey, Mo.
Lawrence, can you hear me?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, amazing. How's your day going?
Very good. How are you doing?
Pretty good. You've got some good lighting over there, dude.
Yeah, I'm actually directly facing a window. It's like 3 feet in front of me. So, yeah.
So you get a little bit of a view with the interview today, huh?
Yeah, I'm actually in Charleston, visiting some friends. So it's a different view. It's a very non-New York City view, but it's a pleasant view.
Definitely a little bit more humid than New York City, right?
More than a little, a lot more humid.
How are you dealing with that? Are you surviving it or are you ready to get back to New York?
I'm loving it because New York has been weirdly cold. It's been like 60 forever with a few exceptions. So this heat and this humidity feel real nice to me. I don't know if I was here for another week, how I would feel about it, but right now it's pretty nice.
I love that. You just got to enjoy it while you can.
Yep.
Amazing. Well, I heard you just recently had your LP show. How did that go?
It was a lot of fun. Yeah, we played at this great venue in Brooklyn called Mama Tried, which has this great outdoor space, like right under this major highway. So it's kind of it's a little noisy, but I don't know. It's just a good vibe in there, and a lot of friends showed up, and yeah, it was a fun show. We played with a band called Love Burns, and with a band called Lipstick Driver, and they were both great. Especially thrilled that my friend Rachel flew in from North Carolina just to sing with us for the show. She actually sings on a few things on the album, and yeah, it was really exciting to play music with her live.
It sounds like such a New York vibe. I mean, being in the middle and underneath all that chaos and sound. Do you feel like that was a really good way for you to kind of set the tone of like, not a metaphor, it's not the word I'm looking for, but almost kind of like this has been a whirlwind of emotions going into releasing this out into the universe. And so this is kind of making the statement of here it is, putting it out and then moving forward with it, if that makes any sense.
That's an interesting point. I wouldn't say the making of this album was like chaotic. Like I've heard stories about chaotic album recording. This was not. This was the opposite of that. But it did kind of happen over a relatively long period of time and in bits and pieces. So it was good to have this kind of culminating event where it was, a lot of people were there and under the VQE, the highway there. And yeah, I guess it was kind of like things have been moving towards this point for a real long time. So when it hit, it was good to have like kind of a lot of activity, a lot of buzz, and just to see a lot of people apparently having fun. So yeah, it was pretty cool situation for that to happen.
Do you feel like you're able to finally enjoy the calm after the storm now that the project is out? Like, how are you dealing with it post-release?
There's a bit of postpartum depression, I would say, because this album has really occupied the main space in my mind for a ridiculously long period of time. So I kind of don't know what to do anymore. But it is a good feeling to have it out there. I think I made a good album, and I'm just mainly happy that I was able to collaborate with so many talented friends. And it's kind of like a summing up of my musical career, if you want to put it that way, up to this point. So, yeah, it's a good feeling to have this kind of statement out there in the world.
So good to hear. And we'll definitely talk a little bit more about this latest project of yours. But I want to travel back in time some. In the mid 1990s, you were in the band BMX Bandits. Did a solo project linger in the back of your mind back then?
Not really. So I've always been like the kind of person who likes to be in bands for several reasons. I think I like this kind of almost like gang mentality, like us versus the world. And frankly, like putting out a solo album, I mean, even now to some extent, but it just seemed kind of like not conceited, but like I just feel like it takes a lot to put something out there under your own actual name, like for a little while, once I got it into my head that I might want to do a quote unquote solo album. I was like, well, I'll put it out under a different name. But it was kind of important to me this time around to be like, well, look, I've spent all these years hiding behind bands, and not in a deceitful, I mean, just, just being in bands. And if I'm going to release something which is my own thing, I really do want to be kind of honest about it and put it out under my own name. So to answer your question, no, back then I wasn't, I was like 21 or 22 years old at that point, and I had never been in like a band that was signed to a label, and I was just kind of soaking everything in, and I was just really excited just to be around musicians who liked the same kind of music I did and who are also really kind and wonderful people. And I was just kind of like soaking it up. I kind of refer to it sometimes as my indie rock apprenticeship or something. I was just very much not thinking about doing my own thing and was more concentrating on, being a part of the whole.
Well, I feel like it's such a powerful message to remind people to just do things on your own terms. Because I think a lot of people try to find that feeling of when is the right timing. And I know it sounds so cliche to say, but I feel like you're the perfect example of like when you know, you will know. You cannot really explain it. And all of these doubts that you had leading up to it, they'll be answered in their own time. For example, not knowing whether you were going to go with a different name or your own name. And I feel like it says a lot about the fact that you were able to pivot to just doing it under your own name because honesty and vulnerability is so tied into this project, which I really, really love. And again, we'll talk about that project here in 2 seconds. But something I wanted to bring up to you real quick is Kurt Cobain had said BMX Bandits was a band he wishes he could have been a part of. Is there a band today Lawrence Kim could say on record he wishes he could be a part of?
Oh, wow. Geez. Like a band that's around today, you mean? Like right now?
Just any
Or like
band.
a any band? Well, man. So Rachel, who I mentioned just now, she was in one of my favorite bands, New York City bands from anywhere, in the aughts and the teens. They were based in Brooklyn. They were called Oakley Hall, and that was a really just fantastic band. I don't know if you know them, but it was kind of like Fairport Convention folk rock meets bluegrass meets like krautrock drones kind of thing, and they were just a tremendous band. And I actually did play with them once. Our friend was having a going away party, and I jumped up there on stage and played a Thin Lizzy song with them. But I mean, I just love that band so much, and I would have loved to have been part of that band. But I didn't really know anybody in that band at the time. As far as today's bands go, I don't know, man. There's a really good band called Water Damage. I don't know if you've heard of them. You know them?
Yes, such a
Um,
good one.
yeah, I saw them at a Union Pool in Brooklyn a few months ago now, and I really love just, especially live, just the real kind of like heavy, droning, repetitive thing. That's kind of my thing actually. When I play live, I love to do that kind of thing. So they're a great band. There's another really good band I've been hearing called the Flea Beans.
That one I haven't heard of.
Yeah, you should check them out. It's kind of hard to, well, it's not hard to describe them, but if I describe them, you'll be like, well, that just sounds like everything else. So, like, I think it's like two guitars, bass, drums, kind of
Gotcha.
poppy, post-punky kind of stuff. They just write really good songs. They have an amazing energy. And I think they're from California, but the lead singer is from Ireland. Like, he's Irish from Ireland. And I love all those, those Irish bands from the late 70s, like Undertones and all that, Thin Lizzy. So, they're definitely worth checking out. I would love to be, like just the guitar player in a band for a change, because in all the bands I've been in, except for BMX Bandits, I've more or less been the primary songwriter and lead vocalist, and I'm booking the shows and all that kind of thing. And I would love just to hand that off to someone else, and be like, quote unquote, just the guitar player and just, hang back and play some rhythm guitar. But I haven't quite found the right situation yet. But yeah.
Dude, that's actually such a good answer because I feel like it says so much about where you're at in life right now. The observant side of you is really coming out. And I feel like this project is really tied into that perception. You really being in touch with what you're observing in your life and being present in it versus being, like you said, being a part of that chaos of everything that goes back and forth that goes into a band. So that's such a good answer. And another question I wanted to ask you real quick is in honor of Kurt Cobain, who was also photographed wearing a BMX Bandits t-shirt. This is going to be if blank was a t-shirt. Are you ready?
What? Sorry.
You're good. I'm going to ask you a question. If blank
Yeah.
was a t-shirt today
Yeah.
and relating it
Yeah.
back to you, and that's
Uh-huh.
going to be the segment.
Okay, sure. Yeah, let's go for it.
Perfect. If your childhood was a t-shirt, what would it be?
Like, what would it say?
What would it say or what would the image be? What's the first thing that comes to mind?
Childhood wear a t-shirt. I don't know, maybe keep on moving or something. Because I moved around a lot as a kid. Like, I've lived in New York for a long time now, but before that, I was like kind of all over the place. And I'm kind of grateful for that because I got exposed to a lot of different different places and types of people. So yeah, maybe keep on moving.
Keep on moving. I love it, which is also kind of a really good message just in general for anyone listening. All right, just keep on moving, okay? The next one I have for you is if your favorite food was a t-shirt, what would it be?
I actually have that T-shirt, or I have a sweatshirt. So I love fried chicken. One of the many great things about Charleston, where I am now, is the fried chicken scene. So I actually have a sweatshirt that says "Fried Chicken USA."
I
So there you
love
go.
that. Hell yes, dude. If your favorite hobby was a t-shirt and it wasn't music related, what would it be?
Probably something food related because I love to cook. I love anything to do with food in general. I'm kind of a glutton. I don't know, like maybe a spatula on a t-shirt or again a piece of fried chicken. I don't know. Yeah,
Hell
something food
yes.
related. Yeah.
Amazing. All right, we've got a private chef here in the works. I love it. Amazing. If your biggest pet peeve was a t-shirt, what would it be?
Okay. I don't know if this is a thing anywhere else, but in New York City at least, when you get on an escalator, this is really petty. When you get in an escalator, you're supposed to stand on the right, so people on the left can like walk up and down, right? It's a great frustration to me when people don't follow the rule, and I'm trying to get somewhere, and people are blocking the left. So my T-shirt would read, "Stand on the right, walk on the left."
Dude, are you fucking kidding me? This is actually so good because I feel like this is always a very telling way for me to know when someone is not very well traveled because I
Uh-huh.
relate to this to airports. When people don't follow this in just
Oh
like
yeah.
regular cities, I go back to like, man, I can tell you don't travel because you don't read those signs at the airport. So that's actually hilarious.
Yeah, the airport's a big one because, like, often when you're at the airport, you're just running to make the next flight. So, yeah, it's especially frustrating.
Dude, that's hilarious. The next one I have for you, which is the last one on my list, if the making of this project could be one image to describe it, what would it be on a t-shirt?
Maybe like an hourglass, the sands of the hourglass
Dude, that's beautiful.
dripping down, or like a snail. I don't know. Snail implies that it wasn't that we were slow in the studio. It was just that it took a lot of time for things to come. Maybe like a jigsaw puzzle. That's probably it. Actually, a jigsaw puzzle.
Amazing. Well, we definitely have to talk about this debut solo album. Why the title for this album? Can you talk to us about that?
Sure. So I just like the way it sounds. And actually, there's a really wonderful short film. I think the director's name is Christopher Munch. It's called The Hours and Times. So no, the times, just The Hours and Times. And I first saw it like, a long time ago, like 30 years ago, 25 years ago. But it's a short film about this trip that John Lennon took to Barcelona, I think, with the Beatles manager Brian Epstein. It's like 40 minutes long, and it's kind of this impressionistic like poem of a film, and it just has like this really beautiful vibe, and it's like Barcelona, and it takes place in 1963 or four, whatever, and that kind of nostalgic kind of quality. I'm kind of feeling that a lot of my own life these days. Like I'm kind of like looking at my past and, through rose-tinted glasses, as it were. Also through not tinted glasses at all, because some not so great things happened in my past, obviously. But yeah, just this general feeling of like a longing for something, if it's the past or if it's people I used to know or and all that. So that was the kind of where I got the idea for the title from. And the more I thought about it, the more apt it seems because when I think back on my life, well, when anyone thinks back on their life, like you always remember like discrete things that happened. Remember that time that me and Mo did this, or remember that time I was living in this house at this address, and so it's a bunch of like little separate things that we put together to form like a memory of our life. So the hours and the times is sort of like the hours I've spent, those actual individual hours I spent doing stuff, and the times we used to have, or it could be like the times on the clock. I was just interested in that idea of like how we recall and remember things.
Dude, I actually really love that message too, because again, it's that perspective that when you rush something, you're not able to have. And I feel like this album, I don't even know what's the right word that I'm looking for, but it is very like stand still. It makes you really pause. And I absolutely love that about this project. And something I wanted to ask you now that you mentioned your past, is there a positive to putting out this project in this day of age versus having to do it 10, 20 years ago, if that makes any sense?
Yeah, sure. Well, I don't know, man. I was going to say maybe 10 or 20 years ago, it might have seemed more current. Not that it doesn't seem current now, which kind of is what it is. But like a lot of my musical influences are from, 10 or 20 years ago. I have plenty of influences who came along after that, but my kind of foundational musical references, they're all from, 10, 20, 30 years ago. So in that sense, maybe releasing it 10, 20 years ago may have made it seem more like in the scene or something. But I like the fact that it came out now because it's even more definitively a statement of like, look, I don't care what's going on. Not in a bad way, but like this is who I am. I'm doing this thing now. And, I wasn't thinking about the current musical climate or any kind of scene when I made the album, which is fine. But I wasn't doing that. I just wanted to create this again, this like statement of like, this is where I'm at, this is where I'm coming from. So maybe had I made the album 10, 20 years ago, I was in a different place then. I would guess the songs would have been different, musically and obviously lyrically. If you interpret an album as like a record of like the artist's life at that point, my life was quite different 10, 20 years ago. So I think it would have been like a very different album. Probably would have been a lot more, electric.
Well, you're definitely speaking to my soul right now because I'll tell you why I think this is part of what makes this project so good right now. Because we are in a time of place right now where so many people are seeking nostalgia. And what's crazy is that I'm noticing this even in the younger generations. They're looking for that nostalgic type of vibe, right? All the young kids are adding filters to their photos to make it look like it's a Polaroid back in the day. And I feel like this speaks a lot of volumes to why it's so important to just put out an album when it feels right for you, because here you are putting something that, sure, maybe you could have done 20 years ago, but 20 years ago, was society really seeking nostalgia? Were they seeking that project that was going to take them back in time, if that makes sense? And the answer that I came up with while I was, listening to your project and writing my notes is that the answer, unfortunately, is no. Now, today, you're putting this out now, and I feel like there is more of a universal sign to why it's meant to be put out now versus back then. Hopefully, I'm not just, rambling and not making any sense, but that's my take on it.
Sure, that makes sense. I agree with you that there seems to be a lot of feeling for nostalgia these days. I think a lot of that may have to do with the state of the world right now. I think people are looking to perhaps escape to what they perceive to be. I mean, it wasn't really what they perceive to be like a simpler time or whatever, a more harmonious time. Certainly, I think it's what people are looking for. And yeah, people look back on like the 90s or even the 80s and they're like, oh yeah, when, before phones, before smartphones and when all this great music was coming out, all those like, neon cell colors, it's very attractive, sure.
It's so true. And I think it's also very telling on just how fast technology continues to move. It's moving at such a fast pace that even us humans cannot keep up with it. Therefore, because we can't keep up with it, we're searching for that standstill moment. And I think that's just the place that we are in right now. AI is obviously moving so fast, which is why the younger generations, they're looking to find something that takes them back to a place they don't know, which is the times before technology was as advanced, if that makes any sense. But I also want to talk about your track Madeline real quick because I absolutely love this one. But I wanted to ask you first, why Madeline as the first single and who is Madeline?
Madeline was chosen as a first single for a number of reasons. It's relatively short. It's one of my favorite songs on the album. Who is Madeline? I have no idea. I like the way those sounds sound when I sing them, just, like the vowels and the consonants together. Not to sound pretentious, but I recently finally read In Search of Lost Time by Proust. And, there's a famous thing about the Madeleines, the cookies that I remember from his childhood. So that was maybe on my mind. But the main thing is I just like the name Madeline. It's pleasing to me anyway to say just Madeline, Yeah.
And how can it be you're letting me down, down, down? You're letting me down, down, down. You don't even know. Some hard to believe you're letting me down, down, down. You're letting me down, down, down. You're letting me go.
Do you feel like that was also part of a take into your imagination and how creative this project was going to be for you? Because again, you're making sense of all this creativity that's been brewing up all these years. Now you're getting it to put it down on paper and recording it. Do you feel like that's something you relate to?
Yeah, very much so. I really do view this album as like a distillation of like all my influences and my life experiences. So, whenever you write something and you try to make it personal, obviously all those things you've soaked up over the years are going to rise to the surface and make themselves heard.
I love it. One thing I was dying to ask you is, were the clips in the video intentional or random clips put together? Because I love the visual to this one.
Oh, yeah, cool. I would say thank you, but I had very little to do with them. So I met this woman, Meredith Truax, who is an immensely talented photographer and filmmaker. And we met up and we were talking about some visual ideas for the song. Well, first of all, she shot the photos for the album cover, which are extraordinary. That's actually I'm not sure if you've seen. I could send you a vinyl LP, but the front is my face and there's a blur, and then the back of the album is like my face and there's a blur. So that's actually one photo. It's like a time lapse. She just left the shutter open for a long time, and I started out like looking at the camera. I started out looking down at the floor, and then I moved my head up like this. And that was captured in that shot. So it was a really amazing shoot. I was very pleased with the results. So I was like, hey, do you make, videos? And she was like, yeah. So we were talking about, themes of the album and what kind of, speaking of nostalgia, a lot of the footage for several of the videos was shot on like a vintage Super 8 camera because we wanted that kind of actual Super 8 look. That was one of the things that she suggested that we adopted. Another thing was backwards footage, which besides looking cool, it kind of ties into this theme of like wanting to go back to the past, maybe even wanted to go back and change things. So quite a few of the videos have like backwards footage. It was all very intentional, like even though they were shot on different media, like I mentioned the Super 8 stuff and there's some digital stuff. They all look like they belong together. They're part of a group. That's really Meredith's wonderful approach to the thing was, to have like a unified visual look that would complement the music. And I also told Meredith, like, and a lot of times the music video is meant to be this like promotional thing that props up the real art, which is the song. And I was like, I asked her to view each video as like a short film. Like the main thing is going to be the video, and you're using my music to help the art of your short film, but I really do want you to view this as a short film. And that's what she did. And I think that's why the results are so strong, is because she's a very creative person with great judgment. And I just gave her free reign, towards the end of the process for each video, I suggested a few things like maybe, I look bad here, use another shot of me or whatever. But like 99.9% of the thing, it was just her. I just, I would feel it's bad to tell an artist what to do, like you spend a lot of time picking the right person. And once you find the right person, you just let them go, so that's what I tried to do with the videos.
Dude, 100%. That snow clip in that video is so chilling. It's one of my
Yeah, right.
favorites. But I'm also glad you brought up the in reverse because I was about to totally freestyle. So, in a way, you saved my ass because I was going to mention, I know I saw a video where it was all in reverse and what was the meaning of that. But I do love that you just tied that in together with that. What would Lawrence Kim want a listener to take from this album? What is the ultimate message with this?
I'm not sure there's any sort of single message or even several messages, but I think you made a good point a few minutes ago where you were talking about how the world's very busy and sometimes it's good to be able to take a step back, whether that's through nostalgia or whether that's through something else. And I guess what I realized as I was making the album is I kind of wanted it to be, I wanted the listener to be able to listen to it and through listening to it, be able to kind of step away from the world and just have like a moment of solitude and to have a moment of just, kind of shutting out everything else in the world and just concentrating on this thing. So in other words, like I almost view listening to this album as a form of meditation. I know that sounds terrible, but just in the sense of, I want people to kind of like listen to the album, kind of, devote their attention to it and just concentrate on the sounds and the words. And my hope is that, at least one person could do that and derive some kind of benefit for it. Like I'll feel that I will have made a good album if even one person listens to it and they they enjoy it, and it really in some way helps them. I'm not saying it has to help them, become a better person or whatever. I mean, it almost definitely won't do that, but just, in terms of, someone's having a rough day or someone is searching to experience something a little different or have some kind of, aesthetic experience. If they can put on my album and listen to it and it gives them some kind of like comfort or solace or makes them feel better even for a moment, that's just the greatest thing I could hope to achieve with this album.
And you know that you can't always draw the line. And you know that you can't always find the key. And it turned out just to be a waste of time. It wasted your mind.
Well, I can tell you that I find it fascinating that you said the word meditating, even though you didn't think that was such a good word. But it's such a good word, Lawrence, because to me, even just with the visuals alone and with the music alone separate, like both of those two things separate, you really do transport with this project. It's the reason why, for example, something like that snow clip really spoke to me. And I feel like, you could just watch a snow clip anywhere, right? But when you add your music to it, it was very transporting. And I feel like to me, isn't that what meditating is all about? You're trying to meditate and go somewhere else, somewhere that's not necessarily physical, but still very still, if that makes any sense. So I find it fascinating that that is part of the message. And it's definitely what I took from it. And I loved it
Okay.
so, so much. So.
Oh, good, good, good.
Oh my gosh, I'm like still kind of like freaking out of the fact that those clips in reverse were so intentional. That literally gives me goosebumps because I was geeking out about that.
Call it what you want. You can't really want it now anymore.
Yeah, and there's like I think in the Madeline video, there's like a relatively long clip of snow going backwards, and I didn't even have to tell Meredith this because we're kind of on the same wavelength, but that was the exact idea there. It's like you've got this cool visual of snow going backwards, and it kind of elicits all kinds of feelings when you watch it. So let's just take a break and let's just let this shot go on for like 20 seconds, whatever, like there's no need to cut, 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 cut. Let's just have this moment, and yeah, that's definitely part of the thing that we were both trying to achieve.
Well, you achieved it and you achieved it beautifully. And speaking about letting it have its moment, if this is not such an intrusive question, I'm just curious creatively because we never want to push the art, right? But now that you have completed this project, it's already out into the world. Has it already started brewing at what's going to come next for you? Or are you just letting this one have its moment?
Right now, I'm just letting this one have its moments, mainly because, again, it took kind of a long time for me to make this. So I'm just grateful for a break. And that's very unusual for me because I'm a little bit of a workaholic breeder. So it's very difficult for me to take breaks from meaningful things, but I just feel like I need a little time to reflect and recover. And I'm kind of vaguely thinking about the next one. I think it might be more of a like a rocking affair, for lack of a better word, just more electric guitars, because prior to making this album, I was in a band called Scam Avenue that was like mainly an electronic kind of outfit. I mean, I was playing guitar in that band, but the guitar definitely took a back seat to like synthesizers and stuff, drum machines. So my solo album was kind of not in a bad way, but it was kind of a reaction to that. I wanted to get back to playing guitar, but I'm also extremely impatient and I just, an acoustic guitar, you just pick it up. You don't have to plug it in, right? You can play it at any time. So I think that's why a lot of the songs on this album are like, based on the acoustic guitar. But yeah, I think I'm ready to get back to electric guitar, maybe get an actual band together, and like, write the songs with the band and, record the band, more of like a live kind of rocking vibe, maybe.
So exciting. I feel like that's so telling. I feel like there's a little bit of rebellion in that answer, Lawrence, because I feel like you're talking about like, you just took this moment to kind of meditate, be a little zen, but now you're kind of ready to rage out a little bit. And I love that
Ready,
so
ready,
much.
ready to rock. Yeah.
Exactly. Is there anything in regards to this project that you're working on next? I know it's already out, right? Are you working on any other visuals that are going to come out, or is right now just letting it be out? out, do some press on it, get some reviews, and that's it? Or what else is next with it?
I'm not planning to release any more singles or videos. Everything that I was going to release has been released. So at this point, I'm just kind of watching it make its way through the world. I don't even have any plans to play any shows anytime soon. I'd like to, but I just need to get that together. But again, right now, I'm just kind of enjoying taking a break from it.
Yes, I kind of want to pick your brain on this real quick because we're talking about these two different styles, a little bit of that rebellion side that may come out in the future for Lawrence Kim. But I'm curious, is there a song on this project that maybe you would like to add more heavy electric guitar to, if that makes sense?
Well, Rodeo is, I wouldn't say it's a heavy song, but it has a lot of electric guitars, and that one is actually quite fun to play live, especially when you have Rachel Cox and backing vocals. It's like a real, it's a rocker. It's a fun song to play. In terms of like redoing or like rearranging something on the album to make it rocking. One of my favorites in the album actually is this kind of weird song. It's called Escape Artist, and that's just me and Rachel. And there's like an acoustic guitar in the background, and like a bunch of ambient electric guitar comes in at the end. I'd love to rework that one and try to make it like a heavier, buzzed out live thing. I think it could really work as that. Yeah, I don't know. I haven't really, the album I feel is very acoustic and kind of like quiet. So by necessity, when I was preparing for this LP release show, you can't just duplicate the record, especially when you've got a highway roaring overhead, right? So some effort did go into kind of like creating new arrangements to make it more suitable for a live kind of situation. But I wasn't constantly trying to be like, let's turn this into like a Stooges song. It was just more sort of like, well, we just can't have, we don't have a pedal steel player. We don't have two acoustic guitars, so it was just kind of figuring out how to make it work live.
Well, when you do, send it my way first because you talked about it here first, okay?
Will do.
Amazing. Lawrence, it's been such a pleasure getting to know you and talk with you a little bit. I really love this project and I'm so glad we were able to talk about it. Please tell everyone where they can find your music, where they can find if there are any physical copies to it, any of those details that you have, please tell us.
Sure. So I pressed vinyl. They are gorgeous. They look gorgeous. They sound wonderful. If you go to Bandcamp and search for my name, Lawrence Kim, you'll be able to order a vinyl copy that way. Each record comes with a Bandcamp download code, so you'll also have it digitally. Or if you don't have a record player or you don't care about vinyl, you can just buy the album digitally over Bandcamp. I suppose I should also mention that you can stream it on Spotify and Apple Music and all that. But, I think Bandcamp treats its artists pretty well, and that might be my preferred way for people to listen to the album.
So you heard it here, everyone. Go to Bandcamp, okay? I love it. Thank you so much, Lawrence. We'll definitely be in touch, and I'll keep you up to date with the details on when it'll air and all those good details, okay?
Sounds great, Mo. Thanks for having me.
Yes, of course. We'll stay in touch, and we'll talk soon, all right?
Sounds good. Take care.
Alrighty, you too. Bye. Hey, if you've made it this far, don't forget to follow the socials on the screen or in the description below. And don't forget to subscribe to this channel. See you next week.